So let's just talk about it straight away. There's no point of standing on ceremony here, Mr. Wayne. Last night on AEW Dynamite, Jon Moxley got hit with a real spiked bat. And of course, the internet has melted down. I like the fact with the internet meltdown. I find it fun. It's only the few individuals that take it too far and become crazy personal and insane that ruin it for everyone, but just let them do their thing. They're just shouting into the abyss. And I knew it was a big deal because I woke up and a bunch of people going, Simon, what do you think about all of this? Which I appreciate. I love the fact that you do care. And of course, make sure you check it out on What Culture Wrestling, my ups and downs of AEW Dynamite, which is my review show. More of a recap kind of a thing, whereas here we're going to sit down, we're going to chill out, and we're going to talk about it. If you could subscribe to me, that would be great. But you'll be surprised to hear, well, I have two feelings on this, specific ones. Let me talk about Simon Miller first, the bald idiot. Is this the kind of wrestling I want to watch? No, it's not. And I knew this because my tum-tum went absolutely crazy. I felt all wibbly-jibbly and my limbs stopped working. So honestly, what happened when I was watching it, I went like this. I went all limp and I was like, I want my mommy. But there is this other part of me, once I move past that, because that's my gut reaction, where I'm like, I do not understand what the problem is. Like, if this was being done, well, I suppose it is being done gratuitously, a little bit, in the sense it's a very gratuitous act. But I find it amazing that at this stage, which is why I think a lot of it is just blowing hot smoke, I just can't see how anyone could be properly surprised by this, given what AEW has done, especially when it comes to hardcore matches, street fights, lights out matches, whatever you want to call them. They have let you know they are very serious about their stipulations. So you're going to see blood, and you're going to see screwdrivers, and you're going to see people punching each other with glass. And because this was billed as a hardcore match, I mean, there were chairs, there were kendo sticks, there were tables. There's probably some other stuff I'm not thinking about. But given that, and it was part of a story, people like to act like there is no story. You can think the story sucks, but there is most definitely a story here. And from Cope's point of view, it was like, Jon Moxley, I'm eventually going to get you with this big bat that I have called Spike. Now, there's no two ways about it. This must have been real, for lack of a better term, but I always find that a little bit disrespectful when you do say that, because everything hurts in pro wrestling. I know, 6-0 in my Proteus Progress People's Championship run at the moment. That's right, I'm on a streak. But you know, he gives him a back body drop. Jon Moxley lands on it, and it got stuck in his skin. And Wheeler Yuta tried to pull it out, and the referee tried to pull it out. And they were successful, but my rule of thumb has always been, if it takes more than 2 human beings to pull a thing out of your body, then maybe it went in a little bit too deep, which sounds like something Tony Storm would say. But I do not want this to leave professional wrestling. I don't. I want it to be up to me. If I decide this has crossed my taste line, then you don't watch AEW anymore. You don't watch the stuff that Jon Moxley does, or you don't watch the times it says it's going to be a hardcore match or whatever. If we start living in a world where we try to silence wrestling, that's a terrible way to put it, but I always want the creativity there. And if it's not for you, that's totally cool. I want to make that very clear before the comments go nuts and people go, oh, it's a mud show promotion. All right, if that's what you think, let them be the mud show promotion, but closing it down and getting all uppity about that, I do. I think it's totally crazy, and I think it's the wrong thing for a creative endeavor, because this is still a creative thing, right? If we call it violent ballet, which is way unfair to ballet, have you seen those people's feet? My gosh. But if we are going to call it that because people understand the term, then if someone like Jon Moxley wants to be a crazy man, which quite clearly he does in all his matches, that should be the person he should be allowed to portray, and I get to decide as the viewer whether I want to watch it or not. Now, even though I watch this through gritted teeth, you know, the next time they have a hardcore match, I'll watch it, but I'll just prepare myself. It's the analogy I use on all my videos. If I walk into a pizza restaurant and then demand a burger, maybe I'm the problem, and maybe I didn't really think about my situation beforehand, but I just want wrestling to be able to offer everything, right? Because I remember for a good 20 years, as much as I love WWE, it was just a bit boring, pro wrestling, because that was the only sort of mainstream thing we had on television. Whereas now, AEW in terms of business metrics is nowhere near WWE. That's not what I'm here to talk about today. But I just love the fact that I can turn on my television and watch this kind of broadcast wrestling that to me now feels completely different from what WWE is putting on. And I think it's so important that we do have that. And it's one of the reasons that I love new WWE, you know, ever since Triple H took over, because they just approach pro wrestling in a way that I like. And it's the same with this, right? I want things to be different. I don't want them to be the same. I certainly do not want a situation where you have WWE and the old TNA. And listen, there were so many good parts about the old TNA, but eventually they tried to be WWE too. And as we know, that is never going to work. Electric Boogaloo. So I don't absolutely understand the controversy, other than the fact that it did push the boundaries of, well, taste. That's the only word I can think of. It wasn't very tasteful. But do we always want wrestling to be tasteful? Then all of a sudden people go, oh, John Moxley's a terrible pro wrestler. No, he's not. What are you talking about? I think he fluked his way into WWE and AEW and New Japan. You think all these smart people within sports entertainment was like, well, we'll just book him. Why the hell not? That will be fun. It's just, that's when it gets nuts. The hyperbole and the over-the-top nature, and people don't mean this, I get it, but I do think we have to sit down and talk about it in the right way. And if nothing else, as a man that has done wrestling, I'm not saying that you're not allowed an opinion, that's not what I'm saying at all, but it means I can look at it from a different perspective just because I have that experience. The sheer effort and danger that these guys and girls put their bodies on the line with, I mean, all wrestling is scary anyway, but obviously this takes it up a level. I'm always going to respect it, and I'm never going to downplay it because I think it takes away from what John Moxley did for our entertainment. Whether or not you think he does it because he enjoys it, I mean, all wrestlers enjoy wrestling, obviously, otherwise you wouldn't do it at all. But ultimately, it's to try and get across the character, the story, the match, the importance of the AEW World title, the Death Riders. And sure, the Death Riders angle has not been that great. It's been a little bit inconsistent. I think it's been better the last few weeks. Again, I don't want to talk about that here. It's a different video. But I think AEW should continue to push the boat in this way. And then you always get the people that go, oh, well, WBD's not going to like it. Why do you care what WBD thinks? Unless you're working for them or you're on the stock team, let WBD tell them that. Tony Khan's not a moron. He'll go, okay, thanks, business partner. We've heard that, and I'll make sure I tone it down a little bit. I mean, we've seen it with the swearing. There used to be the S word dropped on AEW, like every other word, to the point it became like that South Park episode when it means nothing. They don't do that anymore. I mean, there were rumors that it did come from Warner Brothers. Let's just assume that is true. They listened, and they can do it here as well. I will say that I'm a big fan of them living up to the names of these stipulations. Like, I really, really am. You know it's going to be a little bit dangerous. Like, on the same episode, Hangman Adam Page was like, well, I'm going to win the Owen Hart Cup, and maybe I'll take on Swerve Strickland. I was like, oh no. No, like, it's every time they clash, something horrific happens. And once again, I don't know how I'm going to feel about these things until I see it. But I want both. I think that's my big point when I always think about this. I love the polished, over-the-top superhero world of WWE. And when AEW does this, they feel old school and gritty and other words I can't think of right now. It has an attitude in some form of irony. And that's what makes me excited about a Raw or a Dynamite or a SmackDown. And this is why I'm always saying that I love the three letters. No, so I don't love the three letters. I love professional wrestling. It doesn't matter what the three letters are, because I can enjoy one Raw, and the next week I'm like, well, it wasn't as good as the last week. And sometimes I think, oh, SmackDown's so long. And the next week it feels great. Sometimes Dynamite feels like the best program I've ever watched. The next week I'm like, oh man, I don't understand what's going on. Where did this person go? That's how I watch wrestling. It's why I support professional wrestling. Of course I do. But I can't tell you how I feel about the shows until I sit down and watch the latest show. That's how it works with all entertainment. Like, if you're watching, what's a series on TV? I can't even think of a new one, but brand new Netflix special one. And there's 12 episodes, and 11 of them are brilliant, and on 12 it's just a dude on the toilet crapping his pants. You're probably going to go, I didn't like that show, because that will be your lasting memory. And there's so much professional wrestling. That's what our brains do. But like, what did I think about the last episode of Raw? Oh, I liked it. Raw's great. And what did I think about the last episode of SmackDown? I didn't like it. Well, SmackDown sucks. You see it on social media all the time. That's how social media lives and breathes. So if John Moxley wants to take a big spike into his back, let the man do it. And if I don't know how ratings works in America or over here in the UK, but if that was within the guidelines, it's perfectly okay to show, then we should show it. Wrestling's no different from movies or books or music or anything like that. It should be judged by a body to ensure the wrong people aren't seeing it, because you don't want that, then you get carnage. But at the same time, we want people to be creative in whatever form and fashion that would be. Like, do you remember the movie Hostel? I can't watch that. I mean, I got through one of them. I was like, never again. It's absolutely horrific. But I don't want those movies to stop being made. Of course, there's a line to all of this as well. I'm not saying you can't cross that line, but I don't believe that wrestling... Listen, if wrestling was ever going to cross that line, it's when people were having sex with dead mannequins. And Katie Vick was involved. That was a time I genuinely remember going, I don't want to watch this anymore, bros. Not incest, what do you call it? Necrophilia is where I draw my line. I know. What a softie I am. That's the other thing. Every time I say this, the people that always come and call me soft... No, it's the other way around, sorry. When I love wrestling so much, but you're so soft. It's always the same people that are moaning about this. I'm like, wait a minute. has gone wrong here? So I just had no problem with it. And I thought I was going to go on the internet, because I do not go on, I try not to, sometimes it happens. But I try and stay off the internet until I've seen it and I form my own opinions, because you can be easily swayed. We're just human beings. I thought people would be up in arms about it in a fun way. Then I realized, oh no, we've gone back to this is ruining professional wrestling, which is just totally nuts. I wouldn't put this spot in what we're going to talk about now anyway, but non-AEW promotions for the last 50 plus years have done deplorable things that they should be ashamed about. A lot of them happened in WCW. Like, this doesn't offend me as much as the Goldberg, Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner match in WCW, where Goldberg walks out because he doesn't want to obey the script, as the commentators tell us, oh, well, on the piece of paper we read earlier, he was meant to do the job. So now what's going to happen? That offended me more as a wrestling fan. I was like, well, now you're just taking the piss out of me, right? You're telling me what I'm watching is absolute gubbins. I didn't feel like this at all, because if I do break it down to Generation X, I can mentally process it as, well, they're trying to win the AEW World title. Good grief, it must mean a lot to them. Look what they're trying to do. So, and again, I don't want this to come across as me saying it's the best thing I ever saw. It wasn't. It was just a thing. I don't actually understand why it has to trigger so much conversation. And if any company, WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, AEW, whoever it would be, do push it too far, I promise you, I'll be the first to tell you that was too much. We can do offensive things on TV. We've seen it many a time, and we do have to talk about it, but a particularly violent spot, that's a much of a muchness to me. So no, I didn't think that AEW took it too far for people that are asking, especially because there was so much due course. Like, if this had been the first, Double or Nothing was their first pay-per-view, and they had done this, I probably would have a different opinion. I certainly wouldn't have said, Macho, they've got to die, but I may have been like, good grief, I wasn't expecting that, but I kind of do expect it now. That's a lie. I didn't expect that. That was like one step up, but I assumed they were going to head in that kind of direction. We saw it like 10 days ago at the pay-per-view, whenever the hell Revolution was, right? With the women's match and the cage match, they were pretty brutal things, and you either like it or you don't, right? And maybe you can watch some, they don't go as far compared to others. But yeah, that's mostly how I felt about it, and I don't want it to take away from a great Dynamite either. I thought that was a really good match. I really do. When you see people going, Adam Copeland is slow for a 51-year-old, man, you need to get in a wrestling ring and become 51. If you think that man is slow, he's like the word I'm looking for is like a savant. I don't know how he does half the things that he does do. But that 4-way for the International Championship, honestly, there was one point, I think it was Mike Bailey and Orange Cassidy. I could be getting wrong now because it's been a while since I talked about it, sort of using my notes. They basically did a 2D fighting game bit. I was like, I need that in wrestling. And AEW probably leaned into that, especially people like Mike Bailey and Orange Cassidy. Mike Bailey is brilliant. Ricochet is brilliant. I wasn't a massive fan of the finish, the double pin. I thought it was a little bit gnarly, but I like the fact we did something creative again. And a triple threat match with Kenny Omega at the pay-per-view. I will pay money for it. Like, sometimes I have to think about it that way, because we are the nerds in a good way. I love being a nerd, but sometimes we can get bogged down with the nitty gritty. And sometimes I like to take a step back and go, would that make me buy the pay-per-view? Yes. Well, they must have done something right. So I love the fact that Toni Storm, well, not Toni Storm, but she was on commentary, but then Megan Bayne, Chris Statlander, I do need Chris Statlander to be in a proper feud where she wins, because she's too good, but I get it, we'll be patient here. And Megan Bayne needs to start talking. That's absolutely a criticism of the feud. It's why Toni Storm started saying, oh, you don't talk. I'm going to use the same comparison that I did, because I think it's perfect. If you've ever played Far Cry Blood Dragon from back in the day, they laugh, tutorials are dumb. We do need you to do a new tutorial. Just saying with this, is like, oh, you're such a silent beast, or whatever the hell Toni Storm called her. And I'm like, I need you to talk, Megan Bayne. Like, because I've actually built this match really well and I want to see it. But it'd be even better if she could just tell us who she is, what her motivations are, and why she wants to win the championship. Don't forget, we also saw a lot of surprise roll-ups on Dynamite. So, of course, make sure you get your brand new t-shirt. I don't even know if you can see that, but I definitely did not rip this off from a popular American sweets brand, or whatever you call it. Again, prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller or simon.bigcartel.com. Use the former if you're American. If you're non-American, use the latter. I'm trying to save you money, but you can do whatever the hell you want. And I liked everything with Hangman Adam Page saying he's going to be in the Owen Hart Cup. MJF basically hinting the same. The Will Ospreay AR Fox match that came out of nowhere because of all the Blizzard stuff. I never thought I would see this match. So the fact that I got it and I understood why it was happening, that's totally fine by me. And it was nice to see sort of Mark Davis get his due in that number one contender thing as well. I just think Ricochet is hitting home runs right now. I really do. Ricochet is just totally smashing it. And he made the right move. He certainly did. I don't care where he works. Though I can watch it and decide whether I like it or whether I don't like it. That's all good to me. Again, I'm just a random bald guy walking around trying to watch professional wrestling. I'm excited about the Owen Hart Cup too. I think AEW's done the best job yet of telling me that I should care about that. And if it does lead to the main event of All In, again, is Swerve going to beat Jon Moxley at Dynasty? We've now basically told you that's going to be the main event. We have a graphic, but Will Ospreay has promised he's going to win. You've got MJF again hinting he's going to be at it. Hangman Page is going to say that he's going to win. So really, given that it is in Texas, not the UK, meaning you could actually maybe wait until next year until you put Will Ospreay in that position for obvious reasons. If you do Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland 3, 4, whatever the flub it was, and for the world title again, that to me is an awesome main event, especially as we try and lean back into this idea of the OG guys. I mean, Swerve actually isn't really an AEW OG guy, but my gosh, has he made it his own. The man is next level to say the least, and we all love Hangman for obvious reasons. But you have MJF in the background doing his thing, and I would like it if he teamed up with the Hurt Syndicate. Doesn't matter if it only lasts a few weeks. It's an interesting pivot point to get to wherever we need to get to. And he mentioned the fact, well, if I'm going to take on John Moxley, I'm going to need some guys. And of course, the Death Riders of Marina Shafir came back, and the Patriarchy attacked Adam Copeland. So we have directions. I did think overall Dynamite was a very fun show. I know it because it flew by and there were less segments than usual. Sometimes Dynamite gives me so many segments. I'm like, how did you fit this into 2 hours? Whereas this one felt a little bit more structured, which I appreciate. Maybe because they couldn't get everybody on the card. And I guess we're heading towards Willow Nightingale versus Marina Shafir. Ultimately, I mean, Toni Storm, best character actor, can we say that? But the best character in all of wrestling right now. Even if you don't like it, in terms of commitment to the bit, absolutely phenomenal. But I want to get Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale into that position. I think they're so good, and they're so consistent, they just sort of need to do that. Of course, we'll end with Mercedes Moné versus Billy Starks. Always been a big fan of Billy Starks, just because, you know, the story about her being in school and just wrestling, very, very inspiring. Mercedes Moné just hitting home runs all over the place, bit here or hog, whatever she's doing. She's absolutely all time. I love the ex-Sasha Banks, now Mercedes Moné. And Billy Starks has now drawn her line in the sand, or whatever the flub you say, and we should do more with her. So that women's division is really heating up right now, which is really cool. Just a great match. And the TBS title was on the line. Like, all Billy Starks needed to do was show out, and she did that. You could have her on Dynamite every single week. You could put her on pay-per-views, and there's going to be no issue, right? Look, very least, and I think she'd be better than this, she would blend in. And sometimes blending in is totally cool. So, yes, we did have to talk about it today. AEW has gone too far again. I can't believe it. I find it incredible that it's a conversation. It should just be something we go, oh my gosh, that's disgusting. We get to this weird state where everything has to shut down. I thought that's what we were all against. I thought we all wanted freedom of speech and being able to do this stuff. Of course, freedom of speech doesn't mean you're free of consequences. Of course it doesn't. If it does get to the point where they are pushing television guidelines, they should have their hands slapped. But for me, watching as, you know, wanting to be entertained as a consumer, no issues with it. I don't want them to do it every week because A, it's the law of diminishing returns, but also you can push it too far. But that's my 2 cents. I'll end the video there. That's not true. I'm going to tell you to like the video, share the video, subscribe, click the notification bell, especially if you're on mobile. It helps all the time in the world. Click the video on the screen, which is 10 things that WWE should not do at WrestleMania 41 because it may go bad for them. Otherwise, yes, grillermind.com/Simon. Just go to Simon and get 10% off, 25% off at the moment. I use these supplements every day. I took one of the energy drinks before I came in here because I needed a boost. I wouldn't say this if I didn't enjoy them. But again, all of this in the description down there. Come follow me on social media because getting big numbers just helps you in life, as sad as that is, but it's true. Simon Miller on Cameo, Simon J. Miller on TikTok, and we've already talked about the merchandise. Most importantly, thank you for supporting me with a click and a view. And if you want to put another video on and leave the room, that's cool as well because YouTube doesn't know. Take care, my friends. Don't get hit by a big bat today and have it stuck in your skin. See you soon.